The Britpop days are all a blur. Wake up, you are no longer in the 90s, but about to witness a piece of music history. After 8 years in the record wilderness, Blur return with their new album, The Ballad of Darren. Tonight, in their first TV interview since the announcement, they'll play Colchester's Art Centre, Essex, where half the band hail from, and an ode to Damon's face has just popped up. Is it wonderful being back in Colchester? That's what I want to know, first of all.
Wonderful.
Or is it fraught with memories?
I mean, we've literally just, Graham and I have just been back to our old school, Stanway Comprehensive, but it's an entirely new school. They've pulled down every single building, so we kind of sort of thought we were going to go through this mad kind of, you know, psychotherapy session, and there's literally nothing to remember. So you weren't even able to be triggered by the memory of your childhood? Nothing.
That's such a shame. Do you think you'd be able to achieve the success you achieved then in this climate?
We went back to our music school, and the music room is now all computers. Yeah, they do have another room with a few instruments in, but you see, my point is it's very digital. So it would be wonderful if there was a kind of resurgence in live music.
After announcing the new album, Blur are first releasing the single The Narcissist.
It's about the addiction with image, and sort of, you know, the way we see ourselves. It's the way that you know, we live in a world where there are so many kind of sort of filters to see yourself through. It's that kind of addiction.
And do you feel like you have a sort of healthy relationship with social media and those filters?
I was never addicted to LSD, if that's what you're trying to do.
That was exactly what I was getting at. Alex, I know you've described it as a kind of a long-term relationship, and without kind of the band, without turning it into sort of band therapy. What is it? Is it a labour of love? Is it a testing relationship at times? How do you view that long-term relationship?
It has been in the past testing, but at the moment it's pretty much a permanent pleasure. I mean, but let's see after a few gigs how
We all have one sister, so we never had a brother. So we are each other's brothers, I suppose, and we've known each other for such a long time.
But it's a very precious thing, the fact that we've spent so many years playing together. It's always, every time we fire it back up again, it kind of surprises me. It's a really powerful thing, that sort of musicianship that we've developed.
The band are famously left-leaning. Dave Rowntree was a Labour councillor in Norfolk until 2021.
It was always hard to have a career in music. That was always a difficult thing, but I think now it is more difficult. Brexit hasn't helped. It's been a disaster.
Well, no, Brexit's been a disaster for younger musicians. Brexit was a travesty, and people are waking up to that now, thank goodness, but it was a disaster.
And just finally, if I can end on a sort of profound or potentially pretentious note, in 2023, what place is the collective soul of Blur in right now?
It's a lot to kind of carry 30 years of people's experience. For some will be younger, and this is the first time they've seen it. There's a responsibility to be good with all that sort of, you know, that's a big kind of sort of introduction, 30 years. But for the people who were there the first time round, we want them to feel the way that we do. We want it to be as beautiful as it was then.
Tonight, the band play the venue they used to dance in as teenagers. Compared to them, the music landscape is unrecognisable, but their anarchic spirit is much the same.